right. Hello again, adventurers, and welcome to another exciting daily vlog. This is daily vlog number 42. And today, we're going to talk about something slightly controversial. And it's going to relate to Final Fantasy 16 because I'm still enamored with this game. I think I am currently at the last story quest, or just before the last story quest. And so, for the past, day, I've just been going around and completing all the side quests and finding all the different hunter mark things and doing that and just kind of cleaning everything up before I beat the game. I've been having a blast. It's a really, really great game. However, there are a few side quests that really upset me from a writing standpoint. And overall, the writing in Final Fantasy 16 has been absolutely phenomenal. They deal with some really, really heavy, deep subjects, and they've actually been remarkably good about not, taking one side and just turning it into a trope, the people fighting against bigotry are all good people and they never do anything wrong because being anti-bigotry means you are perfect. The same thing is true as the people that are being bigots are all horrible, disgusting people that deserve to die, and they're not even human. They're just evil, disgusting conglomerations of bigotry. No, they show kind of both sides, and I think one of the most important things about fighting bigotry and other forms of isms is you have to understand the mindset of the people that are enacting it. Because if you just decide that you are going to paint them in a way that makes it feel better for you to hate them, you're never going to change anybody. I mentioned this in my training video. The why is more important than the what. You need to understand why they believe what they do or why they are doing what they do in order to be able to correct the action. If your goal is to just kill all the bigots in the world, good luck. The vast majority of the population has been accused of bigotry at one point or another. So good luck. When there's 7 people left, and then those 7 people all accuse the other 6 of being bigots, have fun with your world-ending discovery. What is significantly more possible is actually getting to know these people that you consider bigots. Find out why they're doing things that you consider so vile and abhorrent, and teach them that there's another way. And there's actually a really, really amazing dude. I gotta see if I can remember his name. There we go. This is probably one of the coolest guys in the world. Daryl Davis. Daryl Davis is a blues musician. Now, if you're wondering why I'm bringing up a blues musician, other than the fact that blues is really, really awesome, and I love it. It's an improvisational offshoot of jazz. It's amazing. It's full of emotion. That's not why I'm talking about this dude. Daryl Davis goes around, and he's a black blues a blues musician. And the reason that his skin color matters is Daryl Davis goes around collecting Ku Klux Klan robes. Well, it's weird. That's kind of morbid, but I guess okay. If he's getting him sent to jail or something. No, you want to know how he gets Ku Klux Klan robes? He sits down and he talks to Ku Klux Klan members. And when they actually sit down and talk with someone that they believe is subhuman, and they realize that not only is he an actual human, but he's actually a really cool guy, and he's not coming in to tell them what a horrible, disgusting, subhuman beast that they are that deserves to be murdered in their sleep. And when he treats them as a human, they find common ground. And the reason that he collects these robes is when these people leave the Ku Klux Klan, they give Daryl Davis their robes. This is a guy that is single-handedly dismantling the Ku Klux Klan by talking to people. And it's absolutely brilliant. And he's an unbelievably amazing person. And for anyone that doesn't know, maybe you're maybe from out of the U.S., or there are vast places in the U.S. that the KKK really is just like a Halloween costume. Like, people don't realize what it is. The Ku Klux Klan is a white supremacy group that has existed since, I want to say, either 18 or 1700s. Like, they've existed almost as long as the country. They might have existed longer, I don't know. But as far as in the U.S., they've existed for a very, very long time. And around the time of, around like the turn of the 20th century, so 1900s, all the way up to about like the 20s or the 30s, they actually had massive amounts of power in a lot of different places, mostly around the South in the U.S. And when I say they had a massive amount of power, I'm not talking about, you know, they could walk up to someone and go, "Hey, do you know who you're messing with?" I mean, these people were mayors and senators, and like, these people were making laws, heads of like the chief of police and that. So it wasn't so much that they had, you know, like, people respected them. It was the fact that they had gotten into positions where they were effectively above the law, and they used that to do horrible, horrible things to the African American population. And nowadays, a lot of people on the left specifically will claim that there's this huge rise in racism at the Ku Klux Klan. No, they have never been a smaller organization in history than they are right now. I think grand total in the entire country, there's something like 5,000 KKK members. Like, they, compared to like turn of the century when there were like tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands. I can't remember what they were at their peak. It is an absolutely tiny group right now, but they're still horrible people. And these are not the kind of people like you see on the internet trolls, where they're going to just like spew racial epithets at you and say bad things. No, they will go out and kill African Americans. They will kill LGBT. Like, they are horrible, disgusting people. And so it is actually dangerous to do what Daryl Davis does. Because this is not like going up to that Karen in the mall that's saying, "You should go back to where you came from," and telling her off. And the worst that happens is she might slap you. No, these people can and do kill minority groups. They're horrible. They're disgusting. And Daryl Davis has been single-handedly dismantling the group. The article that I pulled up, it's actually from NPR. It was written back in 2017. In 2017, I believe he claimed to have 200. He'd convinced 200 KKK members to give up their robes. And this is through one-on-one conversations. He has single-handedly convinced 200 people belonging to one of the most racist, horrible groups in the history of this country to just abandon their belief structure and go. He is a superhero. He's one of the coolest guys I have ever heard of. If I am ever lucky enough to meet him in person, it would make my day. So anyway, going back to the whole purpose of this, when we're talking about the Final Fantasy, you know, the video game world where nothing actually matters because it's all digital, and it's all made up, there is a single quest that happens that I'm not going to spoil anything, but something happens, and the bearer, who everyone hates and they're trying to stone, helps save the town that they're in. And then everyone's like, "Yay, yay, yay! We're so happy and we're so sorry." And that's not how it works. Having myself dealt with people that have very, very strong belief structures based on, I can't think of the right to the term. I've dealt with people that would be labeled as a bigot, and actually believed what it was that they said. And it is not something that instantly changes. A life-changing experience can have you have effectively what's called a crisis of faith, which is basically you realize that you basically have to deal with cognitive dissonance, where the belief that you have on how the world works is just kind of broken by something that you observe. And there's one of two ways that your brain can deal with it. One, your brain does this crazy mental gymnastics to come up with a way to explain how this doesn't actually break your worldview, or you have to reevaluate your entire worldview, and it is absolutely life-changing. It's one of the reasons why you see a lot of people that believe absolute nonsense. Like a really good example, flat earthers in general. There's a brilliant documentary that was done. I can't remember if it was Netflix or Hulu or somebody. Somebody did a documentary where they went and they didn't really infiltrate. But they went into all these flat earther groups and talked to all these people that were flat earthers. And if you don't know what that term means, it's people that believe that the earth itself is not round, it is a flat disc. And that we have been lied to by science and all these other things and governments and all that stuff, and it's meant to just kind of control us. But the world isn't round, it's flat. And they actually have a lot of science to prove this. It's all really bad, shoddily done science. But they have all this stuff, and they are 100% convinced that there's this mass worldwide conspiracy that the world is spherical, when in actuality it is flat. And so this documentary gets involved with, I think, a couple different flat earther groups. And I think, if I remember correctly, they got them to talk to them by basically telling them, well, we're doing a documentary on flat earthers, and we just want to kind of explain your belief structure to a wider population. And so they were really, really thrilled about this. However, that wasn't exactly what it was, because the other thing that this documentary did is they actually contacted psychologists who specialize in dealing with people that, if I remember correctly, I may be just making stuff up from my brain. If I remember correctly, some of them had like histories with deprogramming. If you're not familiar with that term, if you belong to a cult, which I'm not saying flat earthers is a cult, but they actually use a lot of similar tactics that cults use. If you belong to a cult, when you get out of the cult, because it is such a mind-altering experience, and I'm not talking about drugs, like they literally use a lot of psychological tools to literally change what you believe. It's a fascinatingly terrifying thing. And so deprogramming is basically what you do when you get someone outside of a cult. You can't just go, hey, you're out of the cult, go live. Their entire world has changed, and you actually have to go through this process of deprogramming them to get them to the point where they can exist in normal society again. And so they had these psychologists that would watch the interviews and stuff like that, and they actually talked about, well, how is it that people can believe something that is so blatantly and easily provably false? I don't know if you guys are aware, but not only is the Earth round, but we've known that it's been round since like BC times. Like there are passages in the Bible that talk about God holding his hand over the sphere of the earth. The idea, like a lot of people think that like during the age of exploration, people were afraid that they were going to sail off the edge of the world because it was flat. No, they all knew. Like, who was it? Galileo got in trouble because he claimed that the Earth was round and not flat, and the dogma at the time silenced him and made him. It wasn't that. What it was Galileo claimed that the Earth rotated around the sun and the rest of the planets, which again we had been aware of for millennia at that point. But the planets all rotated around the sun instead of the Earth. And the prevailing belief at that time was the Earth was the center of the universe because God created the Earth. And that's what it was. But they knew the Earth was round. We've known that it was round for, like I said, for millennia. We've known that the Earth was round. And we've sent people into space, and we have pictures of our planet from space where we can see it totally being round. And we have satellites that you can watch live feeds of that will watch the Earth rotate underneath them. Like, we've known there are so many different ways to prove that the Earth is round and not flat. So how can these people believe this? Well, again, they use similar tactics to what cults do, where they will convince flat earthers that they are special because they have discovered this conspiracy that most of the world doesn't. So you are smarter than everyone else. They find a way to make you feel special. And then they will cut you off from everyone that is not a part of the group. When you join a flat earther society, you are strongly encouraged to cut ties with anyone that doesn't believe, because they are just going to poison your mind. By the way, a lot of religions do this as well, and it's unbelievably unhealthy. So I'm not saying that this is exclusive to cults. This is a very, very common tactic that has been used for millennia to get people to do stupid things. So what happens is, the reason that people don't want to kind of stop believing in flat earth, despite the fact that they will have absolute proof shown to them over and over and over again, is if they stop believing in the flat earth, that has become their identity. So they basically have to go, well, I guess I'm nothing again. I'm no longer special. They will lose every single friend that they have, because, again, they've been convinced that the only people they can be friends with are other flat earthers. And if they stop being flat earthers, they are alone in the world, because they cut ties with all their family and friends and said horrible things to them. So they're under the assumption, and they've been told over and over and over again, that no one's going to accept you out there if they're not a flat earther. So they 100% believe if they don't stay with this group, then they will be alone for the rest of their lives, and they're no longer special, and they're it is a brilliant and terrifying psychological tactic. And again, this has been used over and over and over and over and over again. So it's not like this is new stuff. So if you're trying to convince a flat earther to not be a flat earther, you can't just show them the curvature of the Earth. You want to know why? Because that's not why they believe it. Again, the why is more important than the what. What you have to do is you have to convince them that being a flat earther is not what makes them special, that they're special in some other way, and that these people are not the only people that are ever going to care about them. These people are not the only people that they have anything in common with. That is how you get people out of flat earth. That is how Daryl Davis gets people out of the KKK. It's not by, going up and going, hey, look, I'm a black man and you're a white man, and look, there's nothing really different about us. It's by sitting down and creating a connection and showing them that there is another way, and creating a connection with them. And so going back to Final Fantasy XVI, the idea that, oh, he saved the town, now we're no longer racist against bears, that's not how it works. Can a single event change someone's life? Yes. But it has to be a very, very pivotal event. And you never see what's happening. Like, there's two other members of the town that are kind of leading this charge against this bearer. And you've gotten to know them pretty well over the game. You've interacted with them a lot. They become your friends. And then this thing happens and everybody's enemies. When you are kind of saving the town with the help of this bearer, you're off killing things, because it's a Final Fantasy video game. So you're going off swinging your sword, casting magic, invoking icons, doing just badass shit. And then when you come back, everything's better. But they never show something happening that would cause these people to change their opinion. And when an opinion is that ingrained, where they instantly go from someone who was a pillar of the community and they trusted with their lives to, you are horrible, you are scum, you are less than human, and you deserve to have people throw stones at you until they crush your skull to death. By the way, that's what stoning is. For anyone that doesn't know, it is a horrible way to die. That's not something that's like, oh, we're now okay now. There would have to be, it would have been a much better quest line if during the quest, we see a cutscene because they did this constantly in the game. You would see meanwhile, and then you would see something that had nothing to do with any of your characters, but it's just establishing other stuff happening in the world. So if there was a meanwhile where, you know, the bearer and these two other people are trying to fight off the bad guys that are trying to kill the thing, and they're just being super bigots and going, go away, you're horrible, you're disgusting, we don't care about you. And they get into a position where they can save the bearer's life, and they go, he doesn't matter. And so they don't, and the bearer somehow survives, because that's how it works. And then the exact reverse happens, where they're about to die, and the bearer comes in and does something to save their life, possibly at the expense of the bearer's own life. That would be something that could be life-changing. And then at the conclusion of the quest, it wouldn't be, no, we're totally fine with you, and why don't you just lead the town because you're the best person in the world? The conversation should be something to the effect of, we were wrong, and we don't know how to deal with that. At the very least, we're going to try and treat you like a normal human being. But this is how we've lived our entire lives. It's going to take us time to change. That's how it should have gone. Not, oh, everything's okay and it's all great. And that this particular thing happens like 3 different times in 3 different places where you have, I'm a super racist. I don't think bearers have any rights whatsoever. And then bad things attack, and the bearers are the ones that save everybody. And then it's instantly, oh, I was wrong. You guys are the best things in the world, and I think you should be in charge instead of me. Despite the fact that I've been in charge my entire life, and this has been how I've lived my entire life, I'm just going to instantly change it due to the fact that you guys did something that I didn't even witness because I was safe in my little hidey hole. And to me, that's really, really bad writing. But it does coincide with how people view bigotry, that it is this choice that you just offhandedly make, like one day you're racist, and that's not how it works. And another thing that I think a lot of people just don't understand, a lot of people are called racists that aren't racist, and hear me out before you guys decide to cancel me. Actually believing in something like white supremacy or black supremacy or any kind of supremacy movement, because whites are not the only people that have supremacy movements. We just happen to be the ones that were the best at it. And fun fact, I actually looked into how in the world it was that Caucasians in general became one of the dominant powers in the world. And it actually has a lot to do with water. That's an entirely other conversation. But yeah, it's really, really fascinating as to why Europe was able to kind of grow and create all this amazing stuff, while places like Africa and that just weren't able to progress anywhere near as fast. And it has almost they've been able to show that it's remarkably connected to the fact of how much coastland and how much waterways they could use, simply because that allows shipping over water and stuff like that massively changes how a society can grow, because goods and services can get to places much, much faster and much more reliably than literally any other way. So yeah, fascinating stuff. Anyway, going back to that, a lot of people assume, like, if you use a racial slur or a derogatory term for a minority group, well, you're racist. And I don't believe that's true. And the reason I say this is actually believing that the color of your skin or who you choose to be romantically interested in or sexually interested in, or how you choose to present yourself, believing that somehow makes you superior to another human being is bonkers. Again, talking about cognitive dissonance, it doesn't make sense. It really, really doesn't. So in order to actually believe something like that, you have to effectively be kind of groomed and manipulated into believing that. You have to have something that allows you to believe something so blatantly and obviously false. And again, in order to do that, it takes a lot of work and a lot of effort to be able to actually do that to someone. Because again, our brains don't deal well with contradictions. That's what cognitive dissonance is. They don't like when things don't make sense, and they will do these crazy mental gymnastics to make things make sense. So convincing someone of something that is so easily disprovable is remarkably difficult. So are there racist people out there that actually believe that their particular race or their particular religion or whatever it is that makes them a supremacist actually makes them superior to other people? Absolutely. And it's a lot more people than you might think. However, it is nowhere near as large as people in certain groups will make you claim. Simply because someone uses a racial slur does not make them racist. Is it a racist act? 100%. But it doesn't mean that they actually believe that. There's been quite a few different times where people have been kind of confronted about using language like that. Why would you do that? And a lot of times the response is, I was mad and I wanted to say something that would hurt them as much as I possibly could. So I thought of what was the worst thing that I could say to this person that would hurt them more than anything else. And it was that word. And that mindset is not compatible with I am actually superior to this other person. Because in order to want to inflict that kind of emotional damage, you have to admit on some level that they are human. Because, like, you can say horrible, disgusting things to a squirrel, and it's not going to do a damn thing. So a lot of the people that get kind of smeared as you're racist just because they did something that was not okay. I'm not saying it's okay to use racial slurs or anything like that. Still horrible. Absolutely disgusting. That being said, I do not believe the vast majority of these people that use these are actually racist. What they are is they are angry and they want to hurt someone as much as they possibly can. And the reason that matters, because a lot of people say, well, who cares if they're racist or if they're just mad? They're still doing horrible things that are causing immeasurable damage to people. And I'm not trying to downplay that. But if you want it to stop, if you just treat them as racist, again, if you just treat them as, oh, they believe that they are superior to everyone else, and you want to stop them from hurting other people, you have basically two solutions. One, convince them that they're not superior to everybody else, which is remarkably hard. Again, that whole deprogramming thing, that takes a lot of work. Or you just kill them off. Also, not a good solution at all. But if you decide that this person is racist, that they believe that they are vastly superior to another human being simply because of the color of their skin or where they were born or how they were brought up or anything, and you attempt to convince them that that's not true, if they already believe it's not true, then you're wasting your time. And you're actually not going to stop them from doing what it is that you want them to stop doing. And that happens on a fairly regular basis. They're like, well, how can you believe is it? And they're like, well, I don't. And then they're just angry and they're just trying to say hurtful things. And nothing gets through to these people because you're trying to convince them something that they already believe. You are preaching to the converted. And so it's a massive waste of your time. It's a massive waste of their time. And then you've lost. You had two options. You've lost one option. The only other option you have is remove them from society, which is either imprison them or kill them. Neither of those things are good results in any way, shape, or form. So the idea that anyone that has ever said something bigoted, anyone that has ever said this is something that is deplorable or anything like that is somehow an ist, a racist, a sexist, a misogynist, or obic, a homophobic, transphobic, whatever you want to call. The idea that all of these people somehow have this supremacy complex is wrong. and it is causing more people to fall into the kind of blanket term of bigots. Because what the people that don't believe this see is, you see these people that are acting absolutely insane because they're accusing someone of something that they didn't do. Not that, hey, you said something wrong. No, it's like, well, you believe that you're superior, and and they're like, I know this dude. He doesn't believe that. But you're nuts. And maybe methinks she doth protest too much. Maybe there is something about this. Like one of my favorite examples, Hogwarts Legacy was the #1 selling game of last year. For anyone that doesn't know, there was a huge boycott effort, which, by the way, wasn't a boycott effort. Boycotts are remarkably effective economic tools when they're done correctly. What was done that claimed to be a boycott was a harassment campaign, and it was a remarkably poorly done harassment campaign. And basically what happened is you had all these people that had decided that because they don't like J.K. Rowling, which that's a whole nother video that I may someday make, but because they didn't like J.K. Rowling, and Hogwarts Legacy is connected to her because it's connected to the Harry Potter universe, they decided that the best way to ensure that they could punish J.K. Rowling was to make sure that her game, which it wasn't her game, it was never her game, she did make money off of it, but it was because she licensed out the thing. It's the exact same thing as saying like Baldur's Gate somehow, or Baldur's Gate 3 was somehow connected to Hasbro. No, they sold a license. That's all they did. Larian Studios kept, I believe, almost all, if not all, the money from Baldur's Gate 3. They just had to pay a licensing fee to Hasbro. And that's how it works. And the same thing happened with Hogwarts Legacy. And Hogwarts Legacy actually was significantly more, I want to use progressive. That's the term I like. Was significantly more progressive than any of the Harry Potter books. Also, from what I've heard, I've not played the game. Do not own it. It was also a fun game, which really, really hurt them. Because if it was a shit game, people wouldn't have played it anyways. But it was actually a really well-made game, from what I've heard. And so what happened was you had these people that their problem was with J.K. Rowling. Specifically, a single statement that J.K. Rowling said years ago that has been taken out of context so many times and has been misattributed and flat out lied about that they don't even know why they hate J.K. Rowling anymore. They've just been told that you're supposed to hate her, and because of that, you're supposed to hate this game. And so they went nuts. They created a website where you could put in a streamer's name to find out if they streamed that game so that you could go out and hunt them. They were sending death threats to people. And here's a fun fact. Harry Potter, the franchise, remarkably popular. However, there is a massive part of the population that could not give two shits about Harry Potter or anything related to it. If you did not grow up in the 90s, you probably didn't read the books. And if you didn't grow up in the early 2000s, you probably didn't watch the movies. And so the worldwide phenomenon that it was really was only for 90s kids and 2000s kids. And that was about it. Which is a decent part of the population, but it's not the whole population. It's not even a plurality of the population. So there are massive, massive groups of the population that could not care who J.K. Rowling is, don't know her name, don't care about her, but they saw these people absolutely losing their mind and threatening death and doing all these horrible and disgusting things to other people over a video game. And so everyone that was on the outside looking in went, well, I don't want anything to do with that group. And if that group says that this is bad, it must mean it's amazing. And so we see that constantly. Now, we have these very small activist groups that are doing horrible, disgusting things in the name of progress, in the name of defending the weak. The people that they're defending don't like them. And the people that don't have to deal with that particular thing, because things like people that identify as part of the LGBTQ plus spectrum, depending on the numbers that you use, is somewhere between about 3 to I think like 7 to 10% of the population. So the vast majority of the population not only is not a part of this group, but people that identify like that congregate in very specific places. A lot of the West Coast and New York and quite a few kind of big cities in the U.S. So if you don't live in those kind of hotspots like California, Washington, and New York, if you don't live in one of those three places, there's a very good chance that you have had very little experience with anyone in that group. But these very small subsets of those groups that are activists are going on these massive tirades and are doing horrible things and telling people that they should kill themselves and all these other things. And it's not exclusive to that. There's lots of, like, activist groups in general, whether they're on the right, the left, the center, whatever. I'm not a big fan of them at all. And so everybody that's not directly related to it just sees that this small activist group is speaking for the whole. They go, well, if that's what we think, if that's how these people are, then yeah, I don't want them anywhere near me. And I don't want them, like, if this is what they're using their rights for, maybe they shouldn't have them. Because, whoa, none of this is okay. And again, it's all based on the idea, like, a lot of these people firmly believe that anyone that has ever used a racial epithet, anyone that has ever used ableist language or misogynist language or transphobic or homophobic or any other ick language somehow believes that these people don't deserve to live. And that's not true. I think the vast majority of people that use language like that are simply angry and want to hurt you, which is an extremely common thing. And you can connect with someone over the idea of, yes, I have been very angry and wanted to hurt someone as well. And that's, again, going back to Daryl Davis, that's what he does, and he's incredibly effective at it. And if we had 100 Daryl Davies, or Daryl Davises, which again, the population of the U.S. is something like 330 or 340 million people. If we had just 100 Daryl Davises, it would change the entire country. It could possibly change the world. Just 100 of them. Because that many people could start actually meeting and conversing with other people and actually change people's minds and get them to understand that what they thought they knew about these groups based on misinterpretations and just bad apples as part of those groups is not true. And that these people don't hate them, that these people don't want them dead, despite what these activist groups will say. And I firmly believe the activist groups themselves are in the same boat. I don't think that any of them have even thought through what it means to tell someone to unalive themselves, as is the popular term on YouTube. I don't think any of them actually want that to happen. Or I guess a very small psychotic portion of that group actually wants people to no longer exist. I think the majority of people that are saying these horrible, disgusting things are in the same boat as the people on the other side that are saying these horrible, disgusting epithets. They all are very angry and they want to hurt the other side. And they're going to do it in the way that they think will cause the most damage. And fun fact, it's working. But we could stop all of that if we would stop treating them as subhuman others and start treating them as people that are in pain, that are lashing out because of that. Does that mean what they're doing is okay? Absolutely not. A lot of people, and I have to deal with this a lot because I'm a very empathetic person. And I'm very, very good at seeing things from other people's perspectives. Is one of the reasons why I was such a good actor. I can understand a lot of nonsense, and I can get into the heads of people that believe things that are just 100% untrue. And I can understand where they're coming from. And because of that, I can also empathize with them and I can sympathize with them. And people somehow think that understanding why someone does something and empathizing with them somehow means that you're trying to tell them that what they did was okay. No. Understanding why someone did something is the first step into ensuring that they don't do it again. It doesn't make it okay, but it does make it eventually fixable. And a lot of people are not willing to deal with that because it feels better to find someone to hate and blame for all of your problems. It feels good in the short term. It's incredibly toxic in the long term. And actual hatred is not something that a lot of people can deal with. Like, a lot of people will use the term hate just everywhere. God, I hate Brussels sprouts, or man, I hate it when traffic's like this. Actual, real hatred is a life-altering experience. It is an incredibly negative, toxic emotion, and it hurts to feel it. It is unbelievably painful to actually hate someone. And so people that actually feel that real emotion, I think, are extremely limited. A lot more people are just angry and they're in pain, and they use the word hate because, again, it's what they think will hurt the person the most, because they would never want someone to hate them. And then they will say other things that are horrible and disgusting, and they sometimes will go to the point of doing things that are horrible and disgusting because they're in pain and they want to hurt this other person as much as they can. And if we can get to the point where we stop focusing on the what and we focus on the why, we could make the world an incredibly better place. And the weirdest thing about this is all of this came from me doing a couple of quests in a JRPG. But it is a really important topic to talk about. And I would love to see... bigotry is never going away. As horrible as that sounds, there will always be people that are bigots. But in a truly just society, bigots would be viewed the same way that we view, I guess, not really. They'd kind of be viewed like flat earthers. They're relatively harmless, but they're stupid. And everyone would be able to just kind of acknowledge, oh, you believe that. Good for you. You're wrong. Let's move on. And I think that is something that could happen. But in order to do that, again, we have to take a lesson from Daryl Davis. We've got to stop subhumanizing and dehumanizing the people that we don't like. We need to treat them as humans. We need to understand that some people actually believe this, and other people are just doing it because they're in pain and they want to hurt someone else. Because making someone else feel pain sometimes makes their pain go away. And yeah, if we could focus on that instead of focusing on, as soon as you decide to label someone as an ism or an ick, that they're no longer human and no longer deserve to live, well, you've just made the world a significantly worse place. Especially with how popular it has been to just declare, like, the term Nazi has no meaning. I personally have been called a Nazi on many occasions. Like, it's impressive how often I have been called a Nazi. For anyone that doesn't know, I'm Jewish. And I had family members that died in concentration camps. My grandmother fled, I think it was Poland. She fled somewhere in Europe because she was Jewish and was afraid of getting killed. There's a story that I'm not 100% certain that it's true, but it's a story that we've been told over and over and over again about my grandmother being the only survivor of a hospital that was attacked during World War II, during a blitzkrieg or something like that. And the only reason that she survived was she was currently in surgery or something like that. She was sedated, and the doctors that were working on her threw themselves on top of her to protect her. And so she was the only person that survived. I have no idea if that is a true story or not, but it is a story that has been passed down in my family about some of the horrors of World War II. I am not, nor have I ever been, nor will I ever be a Nazi. I will never support anyone that believes in their ideals. I think that they were a horrible, disgusting blemish on world history. And I believe everyone that actually believes that they were right should, at the very least, be confronted about their belief structure. And if they've ever acted on that belief, I believe that they should be punished in a just manner. I don't believe that someone should go up and blow their head off or something. I believe that they should be tried, they should be convicted, and they should be sentenced to whatever the criminal justice system decides is a good way to prevent that from happening again. So the idea that I am somehow affiliated with that blows my mind and is unbelievably assaulting to me. And this term is just thrown around because so many people today never experienced what that period was like. They don't have any relatives that had nifty little tattoos of numbers on their arms. They don't have to, they never had to hear stories about what it was like when they would all have to hide in just a certain place for fear that they might be discovered. That's a thing that really happened. And the people that perpetuated it were humans. Again, let's keep on this. They were humans, but they were humans that did horrible, disgusting things. And every single person that was ever involved in that deserves to see justice. It was one of the worst atrocities in the history of the world. And we just throw the term around whenever we like. It's nonsense. So yeah, next time you are listening to someone complain about a bigot or a racist or a homophobe or a transphobe or any of those things, take a moment to understand that more likely than not, the person that's talking about and labeling these people is probably in pain, and they're probably trying to hurt this person. And if you want to actually help them, instead of just agreeing, oh yeah, it's a horrible, disgusting person, find out why they're in pain. And ask them, is there something I can do to help? From someone that suffers from chronic pain, I have had so many people tell me, well, here, if you do this, it'll be better. Or here, just let me do this and that'll fix everything. And there's nothing more insulting and belittling and dehumanizing than having someone come in, decide that they know what's best for you, and then command you to do what you're told. But something that is incredibly empowering and uplifting is someone just looking and going, hey, you look like you're in pain. Is there something that I can do to help you? And sometimes there is, and sometimes there isn't. But you have to be willing to accept that. Don't thrust yourself at people and attempt to fix them. First of all, you probably can't. Like in my particular condition, I had an entire team of doctors that all went, well, you're fucked. And even if you do happen to have a doctorate in something, you probably are not going to be able to fix me because I'm broken. I'm permanently broken. The government says I'm permanently broken. My doctor says I'm permanently broken. I have chased doctors out of practicing. My psychiatrist the psychiatrist that put me on benzos no longer practices. And one or two of the therapists that I've seen stopped therapizing shortly after being done with me. I am not a fun person to try to fix, and people that's their job have not been able to do it. But it is really, really nice when somebody goes, hey, is there something I can do to help? Because you're not going to be able to fix me, but every so often there are things you can do to help me. And that's true about everybody in the world. 9 times out of 10, you're not going to be able to fix them. There's a remarkably small number of people in this world that can actually help fix other people. And a lot of times they're not doctors. I mean, doctors can physically fix people, don't get me wrong. But to truly help someone who's in real emotional pain takes a special kind of person. And I don't consider myself one of those people, but I think I have a similar mindset. And I think if other people had a mindset similar to mine, where we looked at other people as people instead of problems, and we focused on the why instead of the what, and we focused on the idea of, hey, is there something I can do to help you, instead of, hey, do this because I've decided it's what's going to help you, I think the world would be a much, much better place. So, anyway, go play Final Fantasy 16. It's really good, and just ignore those couple of adventures. The rest of the game is amazing, and the writing's phenomenal. And I hope some of you look up Daryl Davis. He's an amazing, wonderful person. And I hope this makes a few people think about people in their own life that you might have written off as bigots. And I hope it makes you realize that it's possible that these people are just in an immense amount of pain. And it might change their life if you just reached out to them and go, hey, you look like you're in pain. Is there something I can do to help? And they may tell you off. They may call you horrible, disgusting things. But it also might be the first time anyone has ever asked them that. And even if they do react extremely poorly to you, it might be the catalyst that forces them to rethink their life. Who knows? Anyway, that's all for me today. See you guys in the next time, alright? Bye-bye.